Valvolution, where construction meets innovation.
Valvolution. Let's build the future together.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're here with us today because, well, you want to get right to the core of things, right? Understand the big picture quickly, but, thoroughly.
And have those real aha moments without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Exactly. So today we're digging into this really interesting question from a Bauvolution article, Digitale Transformation ein Alterhut. Basically it asks, is all this digital transformation stuff genuinely revolutionary?
Or is it more like old concepts, old ideas, just, repackaged with new technology?
Precisely. And the article, it actually goes all the way back to ancient Greece to build its case, which is pretty fascinating.
It is a great starting point. We also have that intro segment from the Bauvolution podcast, where Dave and Carol introduce their platform.
Right. Where creative ideas take shape and change is the norm tagline.
Yeah, that one. So combining the podcast intro and the detailed article gives us a really solid base to explore this idea.
Yeah.
Are the foundations of our digital world really as new as we think?
Absolutely. The main thrust of the article is that maybe these huge shifts we're seeing aren't entirely brand new, but more like clever updates on some really old ideas.
Okay.
Okay, let's jump in with the first theme, this constant striving for perfection.
Right.
The article draws this really compelling line between the ancient Greeks' obsession with perfect construction, the Parthenon symmetry and beauty, and our modern digital world's focus on, say, super user-friendly software or flawless interfaces.
That's interesting. What specific connections did you find most striking there?
Well, look at the Parthenon, right? 5th century BC. These guys weren't just stacking rocks. They were using precise maths, a golden ratio, stuff like that for visual harmony. I get this. They even used optical illusions, like subtly curving the base and columns so it appeared perfectly straight from a distance. Mind-blowing detail.
Wow.
Now, jump forward. Think Steve Jobs at Apple. His almost like fanaticism about aesthetics and ease of use. The 2007 iPhone, the article points out, was a huge moment for that form and function coming together beautifully.
Right. It feels like the same underlying human drive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We want things to work, sure, but we also want them to feel right, to be intuitive, beautiful even.
Exactly. The tools change chisels and marble versus code and pixels, but that core desire seems pretty constant.
And the article's mention of Microsoft Teams fits here too, I think. It started simple, just communication, right?
Yeah.
But look how it's evolved. Integrations, better security, AI for transcriptions. It's that continuous push for a smoother, more polished experience, still chasing that perfection in a way.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me. The article shifts to innovation, and it pictures the ancient Greeks as, like, serious pioneers in construction and surveying tech.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they invented the crane way back in the late 6th century BC. Think about what that enabled, lifting huge stones for those temples.
That must have been revolutionary for them.
Totally. And Philo of Byzantium even wrote about different lifting machines they had. It makes you think, what was their digital transformation moment?
It does make you compare that kind of ancient ingenuity to, well, the crazy pace of digital innovation today. What parallels stood out for you?
Well, alongside the crane, they were masters of hydraulics. Heron of Alexandria was designing automated devices, even the first sort of steam engine Heron's ball.
Right. And the catapult, too. Wasn't that Greek?
Yep, an advanced weapon using tension, leverage, really sophisticated for the time. Now compare that to modern digital stuff, AI, obviously, generating human-like text, transforming fields.
Huge impact.
And the article mentions Demis Hassabis, AI researcher, Greek background, co-founded DeepMind, and just won a Nobel Prize in chemistry. How amazing is that connection?
That is incredible. It really highlights that thread of human curiosity, doesn't it?
It
that
does.
need to push boundaries.
Definitely.
The Greeks needed to build bigger, fight better. Today, maybe the goals are different, solving global problems, new kinds of communication, but that drive to invent feels the same. The article also mentions blockchain. The tech behind Bitcoin, decentralized databases, secure transactions, smart contracts like on Ethereum.
Very modern stuff.
Totally modern, but born from that same spirit of ingenuity, that desire to find new, better ways of doing things.
So stepping back, maybe calling digital transformation purely revolutionary misses that historical continuity, that fundamental human drive to invent.
I think that's exactly the article's point. Technological progress isn't necessarily a clean break. It's more like a continuum. The tools change dramatically, sure, but the underlying human desire to innovate, solve problems, build a better future, That seems timeless.
Okay, let's pivot to another theme: longevity and sustainability. The article links the durability of ancient Greek buildings to our modern focus on sustainable tech. Those temples, standing for millennia.
Incredible endurance. What specific ancient examples does it mention?
The Temple of Hephaestus in Athens is one, built around 450 BC, used local marble, limestone. The quality of materials plus the precision of the build is why it's still there.
Makes sense.
And the Erechtheion on the Acropolis, super complex design, those famous caryatid columns. Again, it comes down to lasting materials and really careful construction, built to last.
Right. And how does the article connect that ancient idea of built to last to today's sustainability efforts?
Well, it points to things like electric vehicles. Tesla, for example, making EVs desirable, high-performing, and having less environmental impact than gas cars.
And the tech is always improving.
Yeah.
Right. Batteries, charging.
Exactly. Constant refinement, just like the Greeks refine their building techniques. The article also mentions big tech companies like Google and Microsoft committing to powering their huge data centers with renewable energy.
Minimizing their footprint.
Yeah. So it's that same core idea of long-term thinking, but now with this added crucial layer of environmental responsibility. And the article also notes a bigger focus today on the social side of sustainability, which maybe wasn't as prominent back then.
That's a key evolution in thinking, isn't it?
Okay.
Our definition of building for the future now has to include environmental and social factors. It's not just about the physical structure enduring anymore.
Definitely. Okay, another interesting angle the article explores is societal influence, comparing ancient structures as social hubs to modern digital platforms.
So how did ancient buildings act as social centers?
Think of the Theater of Epidaurus. Huge capacity, like 14,000 people. It wasn't just for plays, it was for cultural events, religious stuff, community gatherings, a real focal point.
A place to come together?
Yeah. And the agora, the marketplace, it was way more than just shops. It was the heart of public life. Political meetings, socializing, cultural events. The city's nerve center, really.
Okay, I see the parallel. So how do digital platforms fit that mold today?
Well, the article draws pretty clear lines. Social media, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, they're modern social and cultural centers, right? Global communication, online communities, sharing ideas.
On a massive scale.
Exactly. And platforms like Reddit or Quora, they're kind of like digital agoras for swapping information and opinions, though, as the article points out, maybe with more variable quality control.
Oh, fair point.
And then online marketplaces, Amazon, eBay, the article positions them as the modern commercial agora, changing how we shop, enabling global trade, creating new business models.
While also creating new problems, like digital crime, I suppose.
True, that's acknowledged too. But the core idea holds. We still seem to need these central places for interaction and exchange. They've just migrated online and operate on a totally different scale.
It's compelling. That fundamental human need to connect, share, belong to a community. It persists. The medium changes, the scope explodes, but the need itself isn't new, which again makes you question just how revolutionary this aspect of digital life is.
Okay, moving on to education and sharing knowledge. The article suggests that things like online courses and digital libraries are basically modern versions of ancient Greek educational traditions.
Interesting. What were those ancient traditions like?
Well, you had the famous philosophical schools, Plato's Academy, Aristotle's Lyceum. These weren't just classrooms, they were lively centers for debating ideas, laying the groundwork for Western thought.
The birthplaces of philosophy and science, really.
Exactly. And then there was the legendary Library of Alexandria, 3rd century BC, a massive hub for collecting and spreading knowledge. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls.
Incredible for its time. But access was limited, right?
That's a crucial point the article makes. Geography, social status, not everyone can just walk in.
So how does that contrast with today's digital platform?
Well, look at Khan Academy, Coursera, ADX. The article argues they're democratizing education, offering top-quality content from leading universities to almost anyone, anywhere, breaking down those old barriers.
It's like a global library of Alexandria.
Potentially. Kind of, yeah. And Wikipedia, this huge collaborative encyclopedia built on shared knowledge, echoes that ancient spirit, but on a global scale with volunteer editors keeping it going. Hats off to them. Even scientific research has changed. Online databases, Google Scholar, ResearchGate, fostering global collaboration, speeding up discovery, and MOCs bringing courses from places like Harvard and MIT to the masses.
So the digital age seems to be amplifying and expanding those old traditions of learning and sharing knowledge rather than inventing them from scratch.
Pretty much. The drive to learn and share seems constant. Digital just massively scales up the access and speed.
Right.
Now, the article also talks about adaptability and progress as timeless values. The idea is that this capacity to adapt and improve wasn't born with digital. It was there in antiquity, too.
Okay. What ancient examples illustrate that adaptability?
One is the evolution of the Greek theater itself. From simple spaces to complex structures like Epidaurus with amazing acoustics, they clearly learned, refined, applied scientific knowledge to improve the design over time. That shows progress.
A dedication to getting it right.
Exactly. And then there's the Antikythera mechanism. Around 100 BC, an incredibly complex mechanical device, basically the oldest known analog computer used for astronomy. The technical skill involved for that era is just stunning.
Truly remarkable. And how does that connect to modern digital progress?
The article points to quantum computing as a modern example of that same relentless drive, pushing the absolute limits of computation using quantum mechanics. Companies like IBM and Google are pouring resources into it.
The next frontier.
Yeah. And for adaptability in the digital age, the article uses Netflix, how they completely shifted their business from mailing DVDs to streaming. That's rapid adaptation to technological change right there.
Good example. So these examples, ancient and modern, they just underline that adapting and improving is kind of fundamental to human endeavor.
It seems so. It reinforces that progress isn't new. Our ability to adapt, to seek better ways, it's always been there. Digital transformation is just the latest, maybe fastest iteration of that story.
Okay, so after drawing all these parallels, the article finally gets to the big question. What is actually fundamentally new about digital transformation? This is where it gets really distinct.
Yes, exactly. What really sets it apart?
Well, first off, the article highlights the sheer speed and scale of networking. We're talking near-instant global access to information, global communication. That's something utterly unprecedented, unimaginable in ancient Greece.
Right. The reach is just different.
Completely. And second, the power of AI and machine learning. Automating tasks, analyzing data on a scale that was pure science fiction just decades ago, let alone millennia.
Okay, so speed, scale, and AI power. Can you give some concrete modern examples that show these truly novel aspects, things the ancients just couldn't have done?
Absolutely. Building information modeling, BIM, is a huge one in construction, creating these intelligent, detailed digital models of buildings.
Containing all the physical and functional data.
Exactly. And everyone on the project can use and add to that model throughout the building's life. It leads to better planning, fewer mistakes, smarter resource use, that kind of integrated digital workflow. Impossible back then.
Okay, BIM. What else?
Drones for surveying sites, getting fast, accurate data from above, and 3D printing in construction, creating complex parts right on site. That can speed things up, reduce waste. Totally different ways of building.
So new tools enabling fundamentally new processes.
Precisely. And another big one is personalization and adaptability. Tailoring products and services to individual users like never before.
Like smart buildings.
Perfect example. Using IoT tech, the Internet of Things, to intelligently manage energy, lighting, security, climate. The building adapts to the people inside it. That level of dynamic personalization wasn't feasible before.
And the last big novel thing?
Democratization of knowledge and technology. This is key. Unlike ancient times, where knowledge and tools were often restricted, digital platforms and open-source software offer incredibly broad access.
Making things more inclusive.
Potentially, yes. It fosters a more inclusive environment for learning and innovation. Though the article adds that important caveat. We still need to be critical consumers of all this accessible information.
Right. So while the drive might be ancient, the reach and capability provided by digital tools are genuinely new and transformative.
That sums it up perfectly.
Yeah.
The accessibility, the scale, the intelligence, that's the truly revolutionary part.
Okay, now, shifting gears slightly, but it's super relevant. The article brings up deepfakes. A word of caution, really.
Yeah, that's a critical issue in the context of digital trust. Why did the article feel it was important to include?
Well, because deepfakes, these AI-generated fake videos or images that look incredibly real, are a serious threat. They undermine information integrity, privacy.
They can be used for disinformation, propaganda, damaging reputation.
Exactly. Some might seem funny, but the potential for harm is huge. The article stresses how they erode trust because it's getting harder and harder to tell what's real online.
A major challenge. What solutions does the article suggest? Or does it?
It mentions labeling deepfakes, but, points out the obvious flaw. Why would a bad actor label their own fake?
Right. Doesn't really work if it's voluntary.
So the article argues the best defense, really, is critical media literacy for everyone. We all need to learn how to question what we see, check sources, be skeptical.
Develop those critical thinking muscles for the digital age.
Pretty much. It's vital as we embrace all the good stuff digital offers. We also stay aware of the risks and learn how to navigate them safely.
A crucial balancing act.
Absolutely. So, wrapping this up, this deep dive, drawing on Bovolution, shows us, I think, that digital transformation is this fascinating mix, isn't it? Old human drives meeting genuinely new capabilities.
Yeah, the speed, the reach, the personalization, those are the game changers compared to antiquity.
And for everyone listening, especially in construction and real estate, the message seems clear. Embrace the new tech BIM, 3D printing, AI, IoT, but maybe you also appreciate those timeless principles from the past.
Definitely. It's about understanding and using these powerful new tools, leveraging digital resources to keep learning, keep improving. It's an opportunity, really.
An opportunity to build better, more efficiently, sustainably, precisely, create more livable spaces.
Exactly. So the final thought maybe is, how can we blend those enduring principles, innovation, quality, foresight, with the revolutionary power of digital tools?
Right. How do we use this moment not just to improve projects, but to genuinely contribute to a better future for the built environment?
It's the big question, but an exciting one. Stay curious. Keep looking for those connections, those aha moments. The journey itself is pretty rewarding.
All right, well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll catch you next time.
This was Bovolution.
Where construction meets innovation. Until next time, keep building the future.